Steve, we are watching with some fascination here from Britain what is going on. How many court cases is Donald Trump now fighting?
It's about 5 or so, and it looks like there may be more. You've got other states that are now trying to follow the lead of Colorado and try to remove him from the ballot. Apparently, when you look at the low poll numbers for Joe Biden, Democrats are figuring that they can't beat Donald Trump. They need to remove him from the ballot and remove him as a prospect. Interestingly, you now also have some states trying to figure out, can they remove Joe Biden from the ballot? This tit-for-tat disaster of a ruling, I think, is a Pandora's box that Democrats will regret opening.
But I mean, what do you think is extraordinary? Why don't people just let the voters decide who they prefer? Do you prefer Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, the worst American president of my lifetime? Luckily, I don't have a vote, so it doesn't matter. Or do you allow Donald Trump, one of the greatest American presidents of my lifetime? Do you prefer them? Let the voters decide. What's all this nonsense in the courts? Why do they not trust American voters to make their minds up?
Well, because the polls are showing them that the American voters are making their minds up and agreeing with you that he is the worst president. Now, look, people don't necessarily love Donald Trump, his personality, but when you look at his policies versus what you're getting under Joe Biden, whether it's border security, whether it's inflation, whether it's our kind of international prestige, whether it's a guy that can actually talk in full sentences and walk across the stage, on almost every issue, Trump is better than Joe Biden. And I think that's where they're realizing that voters are seeing the same thing. This case is frankly bizarre. As you mentioned, it dates back to the days and years after the American Civil War, where hundreds of thousands died in an actual rebellion and insurrection. And now they're trying to call what happened on January 6th, which was an ugly riot, some sort of an insurrection. I don't think anybody with an IQ above room temperature thinks that was an actual attempt to, quote, overthrow the government, nor that it had any possibility of doing so. And you had Donald Trump encouraging people to protest peacefully. His actual words, go and protest peacefully, hardly the call for an insurrection. And we're getting more and more of the videos from that day revealing that there were police officers on Capitol Hill opening doors, waving people in. There's a lot more to this story than has been told. And it was clearly not an insurrection. And, former President Trump has neither been charged with nor convicted of insurrection. Right. Yet you have these 7 unappointed or appointed, not elected judges, liberals in Colorado, deciding they want to remove him from the ballot.
And he's receiving support from some people who are actually running against him. Let's hear what Vivet Rashia has to say.
They've just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw. I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans are simply complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic. I refuse to be complicit in that. I think what they're doing is wrong, and I think it's up to Republicans to step up and stand up with a spine for our country's future.
And of course, he then took to Twitter, or X as we now have to call it. He said this is what an, quote, actual attack on US democracy looks like. Are the other candidates who are running against Donald Trump going to listen to his clarion call to step down in Colorado in solidarity with Trump?
Well, they've issued statements, but I think that was a brilliant move by Vivek. It establishes him again as the leader of the pack in terms of fighting for legitimacy in our courts. And I think Trump has a long memory when people attack him, but he also has a long memory when people support him. So I think this may have cemented an opportunity for Vivek to serve in a Trump cabinet if he does win. The other interesting thing about this is you have RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's also stood up and sided with Trump in this egregious ruling from Colorado. Look, I have a son who recently moved from Colorado after grad school there and years of living there. Colorado is a great place for skiing, fly fishing, and hiking. It is a horrible place for politics at this point.
OK, well, look, the other subject we're talking about here in the UK is the support given by President Biden to the Republic of Ireland in this extraordinary court case where Ireland is taking Britain to the European Court for Human Rights relating to a piece of legislation we're bringing forward to protect our veterans. I find myself asking why does President Biden hate Britain so much? Because that's how it feels on this side of the pond.
Well, President Obama a few years ago was quoted as saying, "You should never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to screw things up." And I think we're seeing that on the world stage constantly. The dithering back and forth with the Israel-Hamas conflict, again, insulting our greatest friend, for forever in Great Britain. Again, I think he likes to play his Irish heritage, but that doesn't mean you have to take sides against Britain to show that you still want to play to your Irish base, whatever may be left in American politics. This is a guy who, again, can't handle the basics and the fundamentals of the job. And we were just told this week that he thinks he's more energetic and capable than his staff and his wife does. So Joe Biden's going to step in to try and slow his schedule. This is a guy who only works from about 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock each day anyway. So I'm not sure how they can slow his schedule much more than his anemic schedule at this point.
So, Steve, I will tell you from the United Kingdom, we regard President Biden as about as Irish as an Irish setter living somewhere in England. And also, we're just really, really unhappy that he seems repeatedly to be interfering in British politics, and not from a position of knowledge either. Thank you so much for joining us here on talkTV. We've really enjoyed talking to you, bringing you all the latest from the US election.